And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China!
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China!
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China!
Russian.
Russia!
Italian.
Italy!
German.
Germany!
Swedish.
Sweden!
Korean.
Korea!
Egyptian.
Egypt!
Nigerian.
Nigeria!
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing. Yes.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have. When the schools...
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. Think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
There's only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that he was because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in Northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East. You know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Matter of fact, let me check my mic settings real quick. All right, that's better. That's better. Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Want to apologize for being late. I started to reschedule this because of how late it was getting, and I saw that it was many of you guys that was waiting for this. So my apologies for the delay at getting into this lesson. I mean, there's so much to cover, especially when we deal with the subject tonight, the battle for Africa. Come and see. And family, we see a lot that is happening in the current news, especially when we look at the Jada Pickett situation. And I have some things that I'm going to drop. I'll do it tomorrow. Initially, I wanted to do a live on that, and I didn't want to include a lot of that inside of here. But I do want to talk about some things about the scriptures, in terms of confirming the ongoing battle for Africa. And again, this topic is titled The Battle for Africa, Come and See. So I'm just going to give some quick shout outs here, being that you guys were here. Some of you guys are here at as early as 9:48. And I know some of them probably went to sleep or probably thought I wasn't going to do the live and jumped off. But I'm just still going to give some shout outs real quick as a token of appreciation. Starting with Darnell Blackshear, peace and blessings to you. Cindy, peace and blessings to you. Anieki, blessings to you. Shalom to you. Who else do we have here? Macman, shalom to you. Who else do we have here? Let's see here. Alexandria Leggett, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. Jason Canford, want to say peace and blessings. Shalom to you. Bass Reeves, peace and blessings to you. Malaka, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Let's see, who else do we have here? Tammy, I want to say shalom to you. Bishmer, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Elder Gilbert in the building, want to say peace and blessings to you, Elder. Who else do we have it? Dwayne Butler, want to say shalom to you, peace and blessings to you. Really appreciate the love and support. Hadassah, I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Thank you for my sister for the love and support here. Malak Yashar, want to say peace and blessings to you. Who else do we have here? Tanji Ya, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Carrie Banks Wright, want to say peace and blessings to you. Yaquaba, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you as well, my brother. Adrienne reports, excuse me. I want to say peace and blessings to you. I didn't forget about the live. My apologies. I know I went longer than norm. I try to be punctual when it comes to doing these lives, but my apologies. Who else do we have here? Brother Enoch, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. Lachelle Patterson, want to say shalom to you as well. Stay on Fire Ministry in the building. Want to say shalom to you. Stacy Pullum, peace and blessings. Shalom to you. Errol Spike, want to say shalom to you. Who else do we have here? Menene, I want to say shalom to you. Let's see, who else do we have here? Sister Carol in the building. Want to say peace and blessings to you, Sister Carol. Who else do we have here? Felicia, want to say greetings to you as well. Jaden, peace and blessings to you. Let's see who else we have here. Diamond Love, peace and blessings to you. E-Dog E, peace and blessings to you. Rome Me, want to say peace and blessings to you. Who else do we have here? Lakeisha Lively, want to say peace and blessings to you. Let's see here. I think I got almost everyone. Angela Bowden or Bowden, want to say peace and blessings to you. Let's see here. Anyone else? Let's see here. All right. I think I got most of you guys, if not all you guys. Drea Lee, want to say peace and blessings to you. And all those that are coming in now, I want to say peace and blessings to Ari Lynn. I know it's been a while since I've actually done the shout outs here. Oh, I can't forget Sister Barbara. Peace and blessings to you, Barbara Jones. I want to say peace and blessing to you. You say you finally got a notification for a live. I know YouTube has been doing a number of things to suppress this channel. Peace and blessings to Ron Moore. They've been doing everything they can to suppress this channel, right? Shadow had me on shadow ban, right? So hopefully, that'll subside pretty soon. And I know I'm probably about 50 or 60 subscribers from crossing over the 40,000 mark. So I want to just say to you guys, peace and blessings. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the like and subscribe to the channel. All right. I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead. Matter of fact, before we do that, let me go ahead and copy this link here. Right. For those that have not subscribed to We Woke Now Extended, I encourage you guys, subscribe to that channel. That's where I'm doing all our Shabbat services is being recorded there. We finally got our equipment the way we want. Still making some tweaks here. So bear with us as we get the audio the way that we want. Find a good balance between it. Right now, all the audio is clear, but want to make sure we utilize the mics, for us to like the mic drops, so that way you guys can hear the responses of the people as well. But we 3 Shabbats in a row we've been recording. Our Passover service 3 weeks ago. We have the back-to-back Shabbat services. So I encourage you guys, if you have not subscribed to that channel, subscribe to the channel. And for those that are in the building right now, let's get these likes up. Let's get it up to 100 soon. So let's go ahead and get into the lesson for tonight. All right. Don't want to prolong the lesson for tonight. The battle for Africa. Come and see. Let me say that again. The battle for Africa. Come and see. And so I really want to talk to you guys about prophecy and want to really just share some scriptures because I believe, just my opinion, that we've gotten so caught up into just this East Coast, West Coast thing, or the Western side of the globe versus the East side of the globe. And I want to just give some clarity from a biblical perspective, from a prophetic perspective, on what the scripture tells us, especially about the battle for Africa, the ongoing battle for Africa. Now, I'm doing this lesson not from a perspective of trying to spook anyone from going to Africa. I want to make that clear. That's not what this lesson is about. This lesson is to discuss, from a prophetic perspective, the ongoing battle for Africa, right? And so we may have to do this in two parts, but we'll see how far we get because it's a lot of information I didn't even include. I had to take out because the presentation was just that large. And this is the prophecies, teachings that I've done for years. And I haven't done it live, but I've taught this internally. I used to do it every year, deal with the prophecies, starting with Revelations, Zechariah, Joel, right? That's going to be a key prophecy, right? Matthew's 24, a number of prophecies, Ezekiel, a number of prophecies to use to substantiate some of the things I'm going to share with you. I've been dealing with end time prophecy for decades, right? And when I say decades, I got books that's on my shelf over to my left, right? I'm pointing this way, right? Even though it may look different on you guys' side, but my left, right? On the camera may look, my left may be your right, but anyway, but my left got shelves over here with all kinds of books, and especially from a prophetic perspective. But I want to just really go to the text and let the text speak and let you guys pretty much be the jury. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and stretch this out. All right. Let's stretch this out here. And, I tell you, when we think about the whole thing that's happening with the Netflix thing, I mean, it's not surprising. Don't be surprised what you see with the Netflix. Anything but the Negroes, anything but our people. People can do all kinds of movies like the Charleston Heston stuff with the 10 Commandments, the Elizabeth Taylor, we could have all these different movies of people being misrepresented. Even Tom Cruise, when you look at it from him playing an Asian samurai soldier or warrior, Matt Damon, same thing. You see, it's okay for certain people to do, or certain communities to have certain videos out there, or how can I put it, use Caucasians and other groups to represent a completely different ethnic group. All right. We see it all the time. It's some other examples out there. I'm not going to get into it, but this manufactured anger about the Egyptians being not being dark, very dark melanated people. I'm going to say it that way. I don't want to just use the racial constructs from the institution of race, but I want to just say it that way, right? We have the Jewish community as we know them. From that side, we can't say that we're the people of the book, right? We can't say and declare, no matter how many sources we have, we can't say we're the people of the book, right? And then from a Arab perspective, or no, not Arab, but from a looking at it from the Egyptian perspective, that no one can teach the true origins and the true skin complexion, the skin tones, the hair texture of the ancient ancient Egyptians. So they're just hijacking everything, anything but the Negroes, right? So they can whitewash us. But when we try to remove that whitewash, right? When we try to remove the scales from our eyes, then there's an issue. There's a problem, right? So nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into this lesson. Again, this lesson is the battle for Africa. All right. There's a battle for Africa. There's a battle for Africa. Israel, battle for Israel, battle for the Egyptians, battle for every key community that is connected to the Israelites. Right. So, but let's go and get into it. I don't want to do too much talking. I want to get into the lesson now. But let's start here. Is there a current battle for Africa? Is there a current battle for Africa? We're going to answer that question. Matter of fact, let me do something right here. I don't like how this is starting off. I don't like all these transitions, like how it was happening right now. Let me clear something up real quick. Didn't know it was that way. Let me clear something up. All right. Let's see. Yeah, let me do something real quick. Some reason I'm having all these transitions, and I really don't like to have that with my slides flipping like that. All right, let me do something real quick. See if I can fix that real quick. All right, I don't see anything here. All right. Not using that. Let's see here. All right, let me do a couple more things real quick, family. Don't want to make anyone dizzy going as I go through these presentations. I'm not even sure why they are doing this here, why it's set. Let me make sure if I got most of them out. All right. Okay. That's better. They look much better. All right. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right. My apologies, family. Don't want to make anyone dizzy with the transitions. So, are there any prophecies that predicts the ongoing battles for Africa? Right? The ongoing battles for Africa. Are there any prophecies that predicts the ongoing battles for Africa? And we have to start with Israel, but we're gonna touch on it, right? And it still did this anyway. Why did it do it? Let me look at it one more time. All right, let's try this again. All right. I thought I had it cleared. Let's do this again here. My apologies, family. All right, let's try this again. All right. Or did I do the right one? That's what it is. All right, I did do the right one. Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, so we're going to deal with the original. Start with the original country the Zionists targeted to be the new Jewish state. The original country that the Zionists targeted to be the new Jewish state. And for some of you guys that may not understand history, right? It was never the intentions of the Zionists to restore the ancient Israel, the ancient Israelites. Their agenda is based upon themselves. Their agenda is based upon greed, right? It's always been about themselves. As a matter of fact, let me pull this up real quick since I mentioned it. I'm going to add this to this presentation. Kind of wish I'd have put it in here initially, but it is what it is. Let me put this in here real quick. Now that I mention it, let me see. Let's see here. Let me pull this up here real quick. Not that one. Where's the other one? Bear with me 1 second here, family. All right. Let's try this one. Upgrade evangelism. Let me put this in here real quick. All right. Because I want to confirm something here. That's not the one. Let me see if this presentation is it. All right, let's see if this is the one I want. All right, bear with me 1 second, family. All right, upgrade evangelism. Is this the one? I think this is the one. Let's see here. Yeah, I think this is the one. Let me pull this. Let me copy this slide in real quick, and then we'll get to it. Because I want to make sure you guys understand. Some of you guys probably remember this, but let me copy this over so you guys understand the agenda. You know, it's not just with the Jewish community as we know them, but let me copy this over real quick. All right. And then we'll deal with the new Jewish state, the name. So let me do that one first. All right, let me change this here. Almost there. All right. Almost there, family. Let me clear this up, and then I'll bring this over. All right. Let's delete this. All right, there we go. All right, so let me show you this here first. All right, let me go back here. Let me go back. All right, this is what I want to show you here. For those that may not know, this is, and I'm going to drop this inside the comment section so that way you guys can go to it at your leisure, and you could confirm exactly what I post here. You could confirm this source. Let me put this in the comment section. All right, so let me show you here. Before we get to that portion of it, but let me show you here. Look at what's on your screen here, right? It says the United States recognizes the provisional government. Matter of fact, why is it doing this? Let me do one more thing. All right, there we go. First, let me zoom this in right here, just so that way you can see that the page rip effects is what's coming completely off of here. So this government has been informed that a Jewish state has been proclaimed in Palestine, and recognition has been requested by the provisional government thereof. The United States recognizes the provisional government as the de facto authority of the new, and notice what it was supposed to be there, is crossed off Jewish state Israel, right, to the state of Israel. Harry Truman is the one that crossed that name off. May 14th, 1948. The Jewish community as we know them, they wanted that territory to be referred to as the new Jewish state. That's a fact. And this here is just a screen rip of that to zoom in. But again, this government has been informed that a Jewish state has been proclaimed in Palestine, and recognition has been requested by the provisional government thereof. The United States recognizes the provisional government as the de facto authority of the new Jewish state, crossed off, the new state of Israel. All right. So I encourage you guys to go to the link that I posted in the comment section and confirm this. So that way, you know the truth. You can vet the information. You can vet the sources yourself at your leisure. All right. So again, just proving that there is an agenda to continue to divide and split up Africa, or Akibulan, however, whatever name you want to refer to Africa as. So the original country the Zionists targeted to be the new Jewish state, let's go ahead and touch on that. This is where you get into the Zionist Congress, the Uganda proposal. Let's see what this says here. All right. It says, when Theodore Herzl began his quest to establish a homeland for the Jewish people, he sought out the support of the great powers to help achieve his goal. In 1903, Herzl turned to Great Britain and met with Joseph Chamberlain, the British colonial secretary, and other high-ranking officials who agreed in principle to Jewish settlements in Africa. At the Sixth Zionist Congress at Basel on August 26, 1903, Herzl proposed the British Uganda program as a temporary refuge for Jews in Russia in immediate danger. By a vote of 295 to 178, it was decided to send an expedition, in other words, an investigatory commission to examine the territory proposed. 3 days later, the British Uganda program was finally rejected by the Zionist movement at the Seventh Zionist Congress in 1905. But Nahum Sirkin and Israel Zangwill called an alternative conference to continue the plan of the Uganda scheme. The fortunes of the territorial movement depended to no small degree on the seriousness of anti-Semitism on the one hand and the failure of the political dimension of Zionist activity on the other. So, for example, the movement's rank swelled somewhat following the pogroms of 1905, but declined considerably after the securing of the Balfour Declaration. So had it not been for the Balfour Declaration, which the Jewish community was able to convince the Brits, that they can get the United States to the table, right? To go to war against Hitler, right? And so the rest is history. Once that took place, once they convinced them that they were able to get the United States to the table, right? Then the whole plan for there just considerably declined because of the Balfour Declaration, the plan to get the United States to the table. All right. So that way, anyway, not going to get into that, but just to give you a little history on it. All right. So Zangwill became the movement's undisputed leader. After the rejection of the Uganda scheme on the grounds of impracticability by the British, Zangwill turned his attention to settlement in Canada. So Brazil, ultimately, as you see here, rejection of the Uganda scheme on the grounds of impracticability by the British. So the British have authority at that time to determine whether or not if the Jewish community can use Uganda as a place to settle in. Come on, family. Come on. Should ask that question. Wait a minute. British have the authority to determine that in Uganda? Yes. So Zangwill turned his attention to settlement in Canada and Australia, but opposition from local residents led him to abandon the scheme. Expeditions were sent to Mesopotamia, in other words, Iraq, Cyrenaica, which is Libya, and Angola, but little came of these expeditions. A project that had some concrete success was the Galveston scheme, which contemplated the settlement of Jews in the American Southwest, in particular, Texas. The project received the assistance of Jacob Schiff, the American Jewish banker, and some 9,300 Jews arrived in that area between 1907 and 1914 through the Immigration Bureau of the Territorialist Organization. right? So we see that there was a scheme, right? That, that they were targeting Uganda. And yes, they was even trying to make the part of Texas, right? Outside of New York, the largest community is down in Texas. All right. Houston and I believe Dallas. Houston and Dallas are the two largest areas outside of New York. Right. So, but let's not stop there. China's debt trap strategy. China's debt trap strategy. China's debt trap strategy. Uganda is set to lose its only international airport to Beijing. Uganda might soon join the list of countries victimized by China's famed debt trap technique. The country's only international airport, Entebbe International Airport, is under danger of being taken over by China. In 2015, China's Export-Import Bank gave Uganda $207 million at a 2% interest rate upon distribution. The loan, which was intended for the development of the Entebbe airport, included a 20-year payback schedule and a 7-year grace period. President Yoweri Museveni, excuse me if I butchered the last name, dispatched a delegation to Beijing in the hopes of renegotiating the harmful terms, the report said. The visit was fruitless because Chinese authorities refused to approve any changes to the deal's initial parameters. On November 17, 2015, the Uganda government, represented at the time by the Finance Ministry and the Civil Aviation Authority, signed an agreement with the Export-Import Bank of China to borrow U.S. $207 million at 2% upon disbursement, with a 20-year maturity period and a 7-year grace period. All right. So the agreement reached with the Chinese financiers effectively surrendered Uganda's most important airport to China, report said. All right. So we see China, as they already know, the debt trap, right? Because not only did they target the airport, they're targeting infrastructure like highways and also the power companies. But let's continue here. I'm going somewhere with this. Russia forgives African countries $20 billion debt. Russia forgives African countries $20 billion debt. Putin said on, excuse me, let me clear my throat. Says here, Putin said this on Monday at the plenary session of the International Parliamentary Conference with the theme Russia, African, and a Multipolar World. Russia writes off $20 billion debt to African states, he said. This is not the first time the Russian president is saying this. In October 2022, Putin, while speaking at a plenary session of the Russia-African Economic Forum, said, "We provide trade preferences, cooperate with the framework of international structures, for example, through the World Food Programming, International Civil Defense Organizations, and World Health Organizations." All right. So also we'll see, if you study this here, Russia, I think it's either to Ghana or Uganda, I believe it's Uganda, is providing armed, right, artillery, military artillery to them. And Uganda is supporting Russia battle with Ukraine. See, when I think about that, especially, and I didn't have a chance to put that article in here, how Russia is providing artillery, it makes me think about what happened during the whole transatlantic world war, how the Brits, how the colonizers, how they began to put certain tribes ammunition like guns and weapons to help them fight against other tribes. But their goal wasn't just for them to have, be able to, for when I say them, the tribes to be able to defend themselves against other tribes, but the ultimate scheme was to use that as an opportunity to take possession of all. Divide and conquer. That was the whole scheme, divide and conquer. All right. And I taught some of that when I was dealing with the whole Nigeria thing. Let me see if I could put that in here real quick, because many don't understand. There's levels to these things. There are levels to these things, but it's a thing that, let me see here. Let me see if I can highlight here real quick. All right. All right. Let me see if I could copy paste this over. Because, we're dealing with the Berlin Conference. Yeah, let me copy this over real quick. Right? And see, we have to be careful, family. We have to know what prophecy says. We have to know not just what prophecy says, but we have to know the history. Right? We have to know the history. All right. This is dealing with the person who coined Nigeria, right? So let's deal with this real quick. Let me copy this over real quick. Let me copy this over. Let me put this in here before we move on. Let me see here. Let me go down to, all right. This other battle for Africa. All right. So let me copy it. Let me paste this in here. All right. Let me make sure this is good. Yeah, we good. All right. So the question that I asked, is this one of many battles for Africa? And I'm going to tell you yes. Because again, here's an article. Here's some notes from my previous, from a lesson I did about a month ago, 2 months ago, about the name of Nigeria. Because Nigeria is not the name that our people came up with. The colonizers came up with this name, Nigeria. So Nigeria, Background to Nationalism by James Smoot Coleman. Well, let's go to page 44 real quick. Until the turn of the 19th century, the area embraced in the whole or in part by the then geographical expression, now named Nigeria, were referred to by a variety of names. The immediate predecessors have been noted: the colony of Lagos, the Niger or Niger Coast Protectorate, because that's the proper pronunciation. It's not Niger, family. It's not Niger. It's not Niger, right? It's not Niger. And if you want to get a closer understanding of how to pronounce it, let me just put this here so that way you guys can understand how it's properly pronounced.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right. That's the proper pronunciation of that word. It was not a derogative term because, as you can see, there is a country that's named after that. I know some that may be watching this channel that, they may be dancing like this if they get a hold of this.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
Yeah, they're probably dancing like that. So that way they can basically, do this.
Could you use it in a sentence?
Real nigga roll call. Niggas bleed. Jigga my nigga. Niggas for life. Real niggas don't die. Shame on a nigga. Suck a nigga. Ain't no nigga. Ain't no nigga. Ain't no nigga.
Niggas.
Andrew, did you say the word loudly for the judges?
Nigga.
Negus.
One more time.
Nigger.
Negus.
Negus.
Nigga.
Negus.
Right? So I want to make sure that you understand Niger is not the original pronunciation of the word. But even then, right? That name of that entire region was done by the colonizers. So it says here, the Niger Coast Protectorate and the territories in the basin of the Niger and its affluents administered by the Royal Niger Company. I may have to say Niger, right? Just for the sake of how YouTube's been doing to this channel or trying to shut it down. So other earlier names, and it's sad that this is not a negative word. It was a positive name until the very people that have enslaved us made it negative, right? Because we're talking about the name of, as you see here, Negas or Negas was literally dealing with kings. That was the term for kings from the Ethiopian perspective, as you saw in there, right? As you saw on the, or heard in the spelling bee, right? I'll play it one more time so you guys can hear it. Then we get back into it. I'll play it one more time. Let me see here. Look like the kid, man. Looked like he was just struggling, boy. But here it is. And notice the bottom of it, the caption on the bottom as he's spelling it.
Negus.
Andrew, did you say the word loudly for the judges?
Nigga.
Negus.
One more time.
Nigger.
Negus.
Negus.
Nigga.
Negus.
All right. So you saw the caption at the bottom, letting you know the origin of that word. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So we see, again, in the territories and the basins of the Niger, I'll just say Niger for now, and its affluence administered by the Royal Niger Company. Other earlier names reflecting the caprice of the cartographer or traveler included Sudan or Negritia, House Estates, Central Sudan, Guinea Coast, Slave Coast, Niger Empire or Niger Empire, and Niger or Niger Sudan. The first official recognition of the name Nigeria or Nigeria, right, or Nigeria, right? I keep wanting to say it in its proper form. I'll just say Nigeria appeared in the debate in the House of Commons on the Royal Niger Company Bill in July 1899. Several persons have tried, however, to discover who coined the name. According to A.H.M. Kirk Green, it was the London Times in the January 8th, 1897 issue. The Times suggested that as the title Royal Niger Company Territories is not only inconvenient to use, but to some extent is also misleading, it may be permissible to coin a shorter title for the agglomeration of pagan and Mohammedan states which have been brought by the exertions of the Royal Niger Company within the confines of a British protectorate, and thus need for the first time in their history to be described as an entity by some general name. To speak of them as the Central Sudan, which is the title according by some geographers and travelers, has the disadvantage of ignoring political frontier lines. The name Nigeria, applying to no other portion of Africa, may without offense to any neighbors be accepted as coextensive with the territories over which the Royal Niger Company has extended British influence, and may serve to differentiate them equally from the British colonies of Lagos and the Niger Protectorate on the coast, and from the French territory of the Upper Niger. Thus, in the historical development of the country of Nigeria, the North was in a sense tackled onto the South, but the name Nigeria was first given to the North. Now, let me make this clear, family, because some of you guys may look at it like, hey, nigger, right? Niggas and Nagad. Hey, we created those words. Family, that word Nigeria for that whole region was coined and named by the colonizers, by the woman I'm going to show you here. So let's not try to look at ways to still make the origin from our people, right? That's a whole territory. The whole entire territory was labeled by the colonizers. All right. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue. All right. This source doesn't tell us who came up with the name of the territory, but it gives the newspaper publication and quotes from the article without saying who wrote it. Who coined this name? Who coined the name of this region? The name originates and accredited to Flora Shaw. This is the person that named that entire region. This is Flora Shaw. All right. Journal of African History, Volume 1. We're going to confirm it here. It says here, on January 8th, 1897, the name Nigeria appeared in print for the first time. It was the title of an article in our leading newspaper, written by Miss Flora Shaw, who at the time did the colonies for the Times. As Cecil Rhodes expressed it, Miss Shaw later became the wife of Lord Lugard, the great builder of Nigeria and one of the greatest of all British colonial administrators. And here is what Miss Shaw said. The name thus originated by Miss Shaw, Flora Shaw, did not receive official recognition until the territories of the Royal Niger Company were formally taken over by the imperial government on the first, I believe that should be the first 1st of January, 1900, right? That's the I, should be the first. And with the addition of the colony of Lagos and the Niger Coast Protectorate were formed into the two administrators known as Northern Nigeria and Southern Nigeria. 14 years later, these two administrations were amalgamated into a single Nigeria, which then became, in respect of population, the largest dependency in the British Empire. Let me say that again. The largest dependency in the British Empire. All right. With the solitary exception of India. The name Nigeria is, of course, derived from the river Niger, or Niger, which rises in the hinterland of Sierra Leone. And after flowing through French West Africa for a distance of nearly 2,000 miles, enters Nigeria at Ilo and flows south to Lokoja, where it is joined by another immersed river known as the Benue. The Benue, which rises near the Mandara mountains and flows for 800 miles before it joins the the Niger. Differs from the Niger in that its general course is east to west, whereas the Niger is west to east. It is worthwhile bearing this in mind in view of the contradictory statements which were from time to time made about the direction of the great river of Ethiopia, which is also known as the Nile of the Negroes. Let me say that again. The Great River Ethiopia, right? Eighth, right? Dark face, or they're transliterated to black, dark, black, eighth, aether, Eopia, Eops. So Ethiop, right? Black or dark face or burnt face. So Ethiopia, right? Again, Ethiop means black face or dark face. Eighth, which also known as the Nile of the Negroes. It is clear, and remember, Ethiop, that's where that word negas or negas comes from. That's an Ethiopian word. That's an Ethiopian word. Negas, it means king, right? In Hebrew is Nagad or Nagid, which transliterates to kings, it transliterates to captains, it transliterates to governor, which was also known as the Nile of the Negroes. It is clear that there was considerable confusion between the Niger River and the Senegal River, the latter of which flows east to west into the Atlantic. But it is probable also that the confusion was worse confounded by reports that the Benue, all right, not going too deep with that, but here again, key quote that I want to highlight, that Miss Flora is confirmed as being the one that came up with this name, Nigeria, for the entire region. She named the entire region. This further proves that nigger initially was not a derogative word, right? And we could prove this here, but this is just giving you a little source here. Negro, black-skinned person from Africa or of African descent, borrowed from Spanish or Portugal, Negro, black, Negro from Latin, nigger, right, which means black, right? Again, this is what you see in your Bible. Let me play this one more time. This is what you will see in your Bible. We've been taught to say Niger when you're dealing with Simeon, who has a Hebrew name. So this tells you that Simeon was a dark melanated leader when you see him in the book of Acts. But this is how you properly pronounce that word.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
Can't get around it, family. Cannot get around it. Cannot get around it. No matter how we try to slice and dice, change history, the facts are the facts, family. The facts are the facts. Let me say that again. The facts are the facts. All right. Notice that there. Okay. So let's look at one other source real quick before we get into the other portion of the lesson. It says here, look at the different forms of it. Nigger or nigger, nigger, nigar, nigger. A black man, a Negro. Nigger is not, as generally supposed, a corruption of Negro, but is regularly developed from the earlier form of nigger, which is derived through, it gives you some information here, but it goes on to say a black man, a Negro, right? But notice what it says here. But its use is now confined to colloquial or illiterate speech. They're letting you know that this name wasn't a negative term, but it became a negative term, a form of colloquialism. All right. So when we look at this, right, and you understand the Berlin West African Conference, you'll see that this is still a continuation of dividing Africa. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Berlin Conference, right? But let's highlight a couple of things about this conference. Let's highlight a couple of things about this conference. All right. The Berlin Conference. So why did the concert of Europe assembled at Berlin to toy with the future of another continent without reference to its leaders. So this Berlin conference did not have any representation there from any of the original people in that area. Doesn't that sound familiar? People want to tell us our history, but we can't be included in the discussion. People want to tell us that Israel didn't look like us, but we got proof that they did. But our voices don't hold no weight. Now we got the modern Egyptians that are of Turkish descent now stating that we cannot, anyone but the Negroes, we cannot say anything in that regards of saying who is the original people. I'm telling you, soon you're gonna be watching Coming to America in another 10 years, and Eddie Murphy is not gonna be the main character. They're gonna whitewash Coming to America.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
So why didn't they have any of the true representation of those in that area to be there? Why didn't they? Why was Africa partitioned and conquered at the time that it was? Why did the scramble for Africa turn into a territorial steeplechase? Why Africa was such an easy prey to its adversaries at this point in time has not been given much serious attention. The Berlin Conference took about 3.5 months from November 15th, 1884 to February 26, 1885. It resulted in an act that did three things. The first was to recognize the territory that King Leopold claimed as his private property. The second was to recognize some existing territorial claims in different parts of Africa. The third and most important, the result of the conference was to set up a way for Europeans to claim and annex territory in Africa. The entire conference was based and fueled on a racist idea that all of this land was unclaimed and that local societies could not simply rule themselves. Doesn't that sound familiar? That's how we start dealing with the Church of Spain, the Catholic Church of Spain. That's their whole agenda as they went out to different territories and they claimed those areas. That the people are lost and they had to bring salvation to them. The locals that was there well before them were lost when you study Puerto Rico. And Columbus, how they decimated that area to bring what? Salvation? The people who supposedly were lost? Anyway, a group of European men representing 12 countries in Europe, let me say that again, representing 12 countries in Europe, an American representative, and one from the Ottoman Empire attended this conference. King Leopold slaughtered of between 10 to 15 million local Negroes to further push the lie that the territory was uninhabited. So he went through this genocide. He wasn't by himself, but he committed genocide on this area to push the narrative that it was uninhabited. But notice this here, right? Just to give you a little clarity, right? To be sure, all European colonists carried out unspeakable atrocities in Africa. The first and most benumbing was the Belgian siege of the DRC in 1885 by King Leopold II, the brother of King Philippe's great grandfather, under whose rule 15 million Congolese were murdered. All right. All right. In contrast, the Belgians show no remorse, would not apologize, pay no reparations, but make excuses for the genocide. They do not teach this part of their history in schools and have not campaigned against a possible repeat of their history of genocide. So again, this article, I want to highlight what it says. It says the Belgians show no remorse, would not apologize, pay no reparations, make excuses for genocide. But I want to take you to another article. Jewish Telegraphic Agency has an article titled Belgian Jews Greet King Leopold III. This is from March 20th, 1934. Notice what it says here. King Leopold III, young Belgian monarch, today received a Jewish deputation consisting of the chief rabbi of Belgium, Dr. Joseph Wiener, and representatives of the Jewish consistory. The deputation congratulated the king on his having ascended the throne of Belgium. The king thanked the delegation and the Jews of Belgium for their loyalty to him. Wait a minute. So you have the Belgian Jewish community congratulating Leopold III as he took the throne. How come we don't talk about this? How come we don't talk about this? Come on, family. How come we don't talk about this?
Challenge!
How come we don't talk about this? How come we don't hear this about any of this in the history books? How come we don't hear, some of you guys probably never even heard of the Belgium Conference. Again, the battle for Africa. The battle for Africa. The battle for Africa. The battle for Africa. So are there any prophecies about the battles for Africa? Are there any prophecies? We got plenty of them, but let's start with Revelation chapter 9, verse 7 through 10. Revelation chapter 9, verse 7 through 10. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women. Please underline that passage. Pull out your Bibles, right? And underline this portion of this passage. Underline it, or if you have a tablet, whatever you may use, highlight this portion here. And we're going to circle back here, right? Highlight this here inside your scriptures, your Bible, or write notes of this. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as if it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. So in order to understand that passage, I want to do a quick recap of just a couple of the seals. I really want to highlight one in particular, and then we're going to connect that to as we progress in this lesson. So the first 4 seals, and we're going to deal with this as we progress. The first 4 seals showed the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse storming over the face of the earth. And we're going to deal with the four horsemen shortly. The four horsemen represented the havoc that shall be wrought upon the earth by this anti-Messiah. And actually, when we really narrow this down, we're dealing with Akibulan. We're dealing with the Israelites. We're dealing with all the chosen, all the people that we see highlighted in our scriptures, all the people, as far as the Israelites, you see the Egyptians, because if you read the scriptures tells us that the Egyptians were scattered as well, not to the four corners, but further into Africa. Read it, family. There's a prophecy that talks about the scattering of the Egyptians, which means that the current Egyptians, modern Egyptians, are not the original people. They show his gaining control of the world through war, famine, and economics. The events are characteristic of most ages, but they are to be intensified in the tribulation at the end of the world. Whose world? Especially when we deal with Israel's world. The fifth seal showed the martyrs who were slaughtered by the Antichrist, the anti-Messiah, while he gained control of much of the earth and its economy. When you think about these martyrs, these are the ones that upheld the law, statutes, and commandments. Read up on that in Revelation, I believe, chapter 7. Right? They upheld the law, statutes, and commandments. They kept the commandments. They kept the Shabbat. These Israelites honored the things that pleases the Most High. So the fifth seal showed the martyrs who were slaughtered by the Antichrist, while he gained control of much of the earth and its economy. The sixth seal showed the rumblings of Yah's judgment being prepared and simply says, the great day of his wrath is come, the very threshold of the great tribulation. So again, even though I gave you an overview of the different trumpets, but for now, we just want to focus on one trumpet because it sets the stage. And this is the third trumpet. What is the third trumpet? Well, let's go to Revelation chapter 8. We're going to start at verse 10. Revelation chapter 8, starting at verse 10. All right. And let's pull this out here. It reads, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the water. Fountains of water. Let me read that again. I'm sorry, I'm butchering it up. Here, let me read it again. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the waters. And the name of the star is called wormwood. The Hebrew word for wormwood is la'anah. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, la'anah. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And when I say la'anah, this is from the ancient Hebraic perspective, pronunciation. So the Russian word for wormwood, la'anah, was Chernobyl, right? The Russian people took wormwood, la'anah, for medicinal purposes, and it would turn their tongues black. So the Russian word for black is Chernon, which led them to call wormwood Chernobyl. And this is coming from the Times Turns 90. All you need to know about modern history and 90 cover stories. But I'm highlighting 1986 Chernobyl reactor, February 26, 2013, right? This is when this article was written. For the Soviet Union, the consequences of Chernobyl could be devastating. Anywhere from 2 to 2,000 people near the plant were reported to have been killed. I remember this when I was a kid, right? Remember this when I was young. And they were talking about how they were burying a massive amount of people because of the radiation poison. Were reported to have been killed by causes ranging from the initial blast to lethal radiation, and tens of thousands may have been evacuated from the endangered region. Meanwhile, radioactive gases and particles spread over a vast section of the Soviet breadbasket in the Ukraine, and water supplies for the more than 6 million inhabitants of the Kiev area are threatened with contamination. Milk from local cows will probably be tainted for months to come. So when did this happen? Right, again, when Mikhail Gorbachev became the head of the Soviet Union, scientists at the Unit 4 nuclear power plant in Chernobyl decided they would conduct a series of experiments. They disabled some of the key safety mechanisms that were in place. Suddenly, everything began to react. And in 36 seconds, they had a full nuclear meltdown. The first explosion was so powerful that it blew a 2 million pound cement lid into the sky. Let me say that again. The first explosion was so powerful that it blew a 2 million pound cement lid into the sky. This left the atmosphere fully exposed to nuclear fallout for the next 3 weeks. Radiation was thrown into the atmosphere for 1 mile. Winds blew it into Switzerland. It blew it into Italy, into Great Britain, to Germany. Eventually, it reached the shores of the Americas. After the Chernobyl explosion, and notice they didn't mention Africa because it did reach to Africa. But nevertheless, after the Chernobyl explosion, it rained incessantly, right? Incessantly. And the rain brought the radioactive materials down into the soil in rivers, which then caused it to flow through Europe. Everyone who drank the water was infected. Everyone who ate food touched by that water was infected. In Europe, over 100,000 reindeer being raised domestically for food had to be killed. They killed tens of thousands of rabbits, 37 million acres, or an area the size of Connecticut, around the Chernobyl plant had became a wasteland. It had to be totally abandoned. Over 2 million people had become infected, and scientists says at that time the worst is yet to come. The amount of radiation released in Chernobyl was 10 times greater than that release in the bombing of Hiroshima in World War II. So again, what is the fifth trumpet? What is the fifth trumpet? The scripture says that the sound of their wings, right? The sound of their wings. Going back to the fifth trumpet. We identified Russia, right? In a different portion of the prophecy. But let's get back to the fifth trumpet. The scripture says the sound of their wings, this getting back into Revelation chapter 9. The scripture says the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. It also made reference to the helicopter smoke. Matter of fact, let's go back and read that scripture real quick, and then we'll continue where we are. All right, let's go back here. Let me read it here. Notice what it says. Let's go back to 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. I'll say that again. And the shape of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads, as it were, as it says here, crowns like gold. And their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women. So I told you guys to highlight this, and I'm gonna show you why when I get back to this point. Because initially, for me, when I did this prophecy, you would teach it in the past, I would refer to it as what happened in the Gulf War. When you think about Apaches, they look like locusts, and there was a ton of them. They look like when you look at the the propellers, right? They look like women hair. They look like scorpions. I was thinking of that. Why? Because I was still trying to, in my thoughts, right? I wasn't including the actual people that these different countries, right, have attacked, have enslaved. See, I was still taking a different approach to the prophecies, like many of us would do and have been conditioned to do. But this is what I was thinking. I was thinking the Iraq situation, the Gulf War, and they had hair as the hair women. So I'm thinking of their Apache helicopters, and they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings, right? The sound of how Apache sounds was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails, and this is where you deal with the missiles that are there, right? And you're also thinking how the Apache tail, how the tail of these helicopters, how it the position of it, right? And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. All right, so let's go back to where I left off at. All right. So did I leave off here? Yeah, I went too far, right? All right, here we go. So this is why I highlighted. The scripture says the sounds of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. So imagine the sound of a fleet of helicopters coming out of the smoke. See, that's what I was thinking of, and when I would teach this in the past. But I shifted on this over the years. I shifted on this about 8 years ago. And I'm going to show you here what confirms it. So imagine the sound of a fleet of helicopters coming out of the smoke. So again, initially I thought the fifth trumpet was referring to the Gulf War, but I was wrong, right? I believe and still believe and confirm it with scripture that the prophecy is predicting the transatlantic world war, right? Especially when you deal with men, women hair. Think about the sounds of cannons. Think about the sounds of guns. Think about the sounds of the artillery at that time. Think about how their ships were configured and shaped. I believe the prophecy is predicting the transatlantic world war. So here's 8 key points about the fifth trumpet, and I want to give you a key verse with that. The demonic locusts, right, are like horses prepared for battle, posed and ready to attack. This could also mean that they will be larger than the average size locust. These demonic locusts will have heads that look like they are crowned with gold, which symbolizes, think about the hats that they wore. This symbolizes that they will have authority to afflict men. What men? They will be as conquerors and be successful in their attacks. Their demonic locusts will appear to have the faces of men. This symbolizes the determination and intelligence of men. They will be set like flint in their attacks and have the intelligence to attack and inflict damage with their scorpion-like poison. These demonic locusts will have hair like of women. Think about the hair, how the hairstyles were at that time for the colonizers. Beauty to seduce and ensnare, to help them seem innocent and harmless at first, right? How I talked about how they would weasel their way to different tribes, right? As if they were peaceful, trying to help a tribe defend itself against another. Come on, family. We bringing it all together, family. This may mean long, right, antennae to help them in their attack and escape. The demonic locust will have teeth as a lion. In other words, ferocious, fierce, devouring, and cruel. Because when I saw that they have teeth like a lion, we proved with prophecy, lion represents Great Britain. The language, the mouth, when we start dealing with Revelation, the mouth of the beast having what? Lips, the mouth of a lion, the English language. So the demonic locust will have teeth as a lion, ferocious, fierce, devouring, and cruel. Will have breastplates as of iron, in other words, indestructible, protected, and defended. People will be helpless in killing them. Doesn't that sound familiar? Tens of millions of our ancestors that have been murdered, raped, right? Rapture, that's what rapture means, to kidnap, rape, murder, abduct, will have wings that sound like many chariots rushing into battle, frightening and overwhelming. There will be a sense of hopelessness and defending against them. This demonic locust group, this group will have stinging tails like scorpions, demonic torture. So let's confirm this prophecy, because I mentioned that I believe, and here I'm going to give you the confirmation here. Right? Family, whoever put in here double wings, World War II planes, let's lose that. Let's take that away. See, the problem that I have when people post those things like World War II planes, what about the transatlantic World War? Let's get away from trying to use the prophecy to continue to justify the very people that have enslaved us. This is not World War II. We're not dealing with World War II. What does World War II have with Israel, our people? I just gave you clarity. World War II, that's them fighting each other. What does that have to do with anything, family? World War II? World War I? What does that have to do with anything? We need to focus on the true World War. Before all of that was the World War, the transatlantic World War. And for some reason, actually, I'm not going to say for some reason, I know the reason. We've been programmed and still in the recess of our minds to look at the transatlantic World War as simply a slave trade. That's why you don't see anyone bringing up, when we're dealing with the prophecies of Revelation, no one brings up. You don't see anyone bringing up Africa. That's why I'm going through this lesson. I don't want to talk about no airplanes. We gave proper clarity, and I'm going to give you proper clarity. Here's the confirmation passage right here. They have gotten us so programmed, institutionalized, that we just downplay what happened, that atrocity, as being a slave trade when it was a world war. What is the definition of a world war? Look it up. You have multiple countries and a confederate attacking a specific demographics of people. We are prisoners of war. So let's get to that. Let's get with that. These prophecies are dealing with the transatlantic World War. It's dealing with the Arabic slave trade or war that preceded that. This is dealing with the state of Israel. So let's go to the biblical confirmation. Let me give you confirmation on this. That's going to completely knock down all of that other stuff. Because again, I was looking at it from a modernized, Christianized way of looking at the prophecies. of bypassing the true world war of our people when all the world came against our community. So let's go to Joel chapter 2, verse 4 through 7. Let me give you confirmation on this. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen. So shall they run, like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face, the people shall be much pained. Before their face, the people shall what? Be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. Let me say this again. Before their faces, the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run the mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march everyone on his ways. Let me say that again. They shall march everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. So guess what we just did? I just confirmed it right here. Come on, family. This lines right up with the transatlantic world war. It lines right up. It lines right up. Come on, family. We have to call it like it is. Let's lose this Eurocentric mindset when we're dealing with prophecy. See, we were institutionalized to include the perpetrator on this side of the prophecy, as far as our side of the prophecy, our side of the promise. Come on, family. That's not scripture. That is just furthering the delusion. They shall march everyone on his ways. Come on, family. Let me say that again. Come on, family. I just gave you passages. That's right, Romy. They had tails and stingers like scorpions. Master's whip. Doesn't that lines up with the transatlantic world war? All right. All right. So I'm looking at the comment section. I'm just trying to get caught up here. All right. Yeah, y'all going in. So again, I'm not sure what this is saying here. All right, all right. So nevertheless, family, I'm giving you line upon line. Let's continue here. Let's see. We've been going for 1 hour and 33 minutes. Let's go back to, as I pointed out, the 4 horses. Let's identify the 4 horses real quick. Information regarding the identity of the 4 horses can be found in the book of Zechariah, chapter 6, which was written over anywhere from 500 to 600 years prior to the book of Revelation. So when we go to Zechariah chapter 6, this is what it says. And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from heaven, 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. And in the first chariot were red horses. Notice it didn't use it singular. This is giving you plural, red horses. Adam, Sawas, Yam. And in the second chariot, black, Shakar, Yam, horses. And in the fourth chariot, white, Laban, horses. And in the fourth chariot, grizzled, Barad, Yam, and Bay, Amatzah, Yam, horses. Sawa Yam. Verse 3. Actually, what's that verse 3? Yeah, that was verse 3. Verse 4. Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, what are these, my what are these, my Adonaiah? In other words, it said, my Lord. What are these, my Adonaiah? And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the four spirits of the heavens which go forth from standing before Adonaiah of all the earth. So there were four chariots pulled by four horses in Zechariah and four horses in Revelation. The definition of a bay horse and a horse of pale, right, color is the same. This is the same vision given to two of Yah's prophets. So what do they symbolize? What do they symbolize? Again, family, we have to start the prophecies with Israel, not this generic stuff. We know that there's going to be a war of Gog and Magog. We know that there's a war that's going to happen among the descendants of Japheth. We know that there's going to be a war with all of those people. We already know that. But where I'm working on right now is dealing with the battle for Africa, dealing with Yah's people, the Israelites, starting there. So I'm not oblivious to saying that there's no prophecies that's going to deal with the non-blood descendants of Israel. That's there. We already know that. But I want to focus on our people, the Israelites, but I also want to highlight things about the Egyptians. What happened to the Egyptians? What happened to other African nations? Happened to other places where our brothers and sisters were scattered. That's why I dealt with the region of Nigeria. So what does it symbolize? Are they to be unleashed in the future, or have they already been unleashed? Are the grizzled and bay horses equal to the pale horse of John's vision? Because John's vision still lines up with Zechariah. Is the bay horse and a horse of pale color the same? So the horses are four spirits that go into the world. Did Yahweh give the same vision, right? The same vision that he gave to, how this word, I don't know why I didn't catch this. Did Yahweh give the same vision to both prophets? Right? I gotta go back and proofread this stuff, spell check it. So again, did Yahweh give the same vision to both prophets? Which he did. But we're going to also make sure that we use Zechariah, because Zechariah makes each one of these horses plural. All right? Not singular, but plural. Same vision, but Zechariah used these in the plural. So the red horse, let's deal with the red horse real quick. Revelation chapter 6, verse 3 and 4. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. Ba'a Ra'ah. Come, Ba'a, and see. Ra'ah. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace, Shalom, from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So the Hebrew dictionary definition of red, we know what it means, but I'm going to pull it up here anyway. Adam, in other words, to show blood, to turn rosy, be dyed. So in a nutshell, ruddy, right? Red. What's the attributes of the red horse, or the red horses? The red horses is plural, which means it represents multiple nations within its group. There is a spirit in the world today that transcends national boundaries and has a powerful influence upon our world. It is a red spirit associated with the form of government called communism. Back in the 50s and 60s, at the height of the Cold War, any nation that was in the Soviet sphere of influence and under a communist form of government was known as a red nation. Red China is another example of a country with this spirit, right? Under the communist rule, authorities arrested more than 200,000 Czechs and shot 327 others dead as they tried to flee across the border. The simple but stirring memorial of the victims of communism captures the agony with 6 sculptures of a man and progressive. So not only does a communist revolution, or should I say communist revolutions overthrow governments and take power, but communists fight conflict among themselves. Since 1948, when the Chinese communists took over, there have been 60 million people butchered in politics, or should I say political purges. Under Stalin, 20 million were slaughtered in the political purges out of the Soviet Union. So the Red Horse Riders had a sword meaning revolution, and there was given unto him a great sword. So great military might was given to them. What would happen if the United States would go to war tomorrow against Red China and Russia together? Now, truth be told, right? And I thought I put my slides in here too, because democracy is still another form of communism, especially when we think about it as a people and what we've been subjected to. Think about it. The red, the white, and the blue. We have to understand red is the first thing we mentioned about the colors of the United States. How has this thing has been, you know what I mean? How have we been treated here? Blood spilled with our ancestors. That's right, Romy. The redcoats are coming, right? That's the British, right? The redcoats. What would happen if the United States would go to war against Red China and Red Russia together? See, communism is the red power that Yahweh prophesied in Revelation chapter 6. But we can't let the United States off the hook. The United States, Britain, all of them are buddy, and they're still the same bird. We'll deal with that, not tonight. Where are the red horses? Where are they? Where are they? Let's deal with the black horses. Let's deal with the black horses. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Hebrew definition, dictionary definition of black, it says to be dim, dark, be black. Where does capitalism rule in our world? This is another thing. We're dealing with the horses. Where does capitalism rule in our world? Where does capitalism rule in our world? Come on, family. What's the attributes of the black horse? Instead of a weapon, the black horse riders has a pair of balances in hand. The balances indicate commerce. They are used to measure an item being bought or sold. There's a spirit in the world today, very similar to communism, but its message is trade. It's called capitalism. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary definition of the word capitalism: an economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods, by investments that are determined by private decisions, and by prices, production, and distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in a free market. So capitalism is derived from the word capital. Let me say that again. Capitalism is derived from the word capital. The etymology dictionary of capital you'll see here, of or pertaining to the head, right? Main principle, chief, dominant, first in importance. From the Proto-Indo-European root, kaput, in other words, head. So capital comes from the word kaput. Cattle comes from the same word, kaput. And ultimately, the word chattel comes from the word cattle. So cattle, right? Chattel comes from the word cattle, and cattle comes from the same word kaput. So cattle, chattel, capital comes from the same word. Why did I say that? I'm going to show you here, right? Chattel, capital, working hand in hand, capitalism. The etymological dictionary of definition of chattel. It says property, right? Chattels, goods, wealth, possession, property, profit, cattle. It says see cattle from the Latin capital, which means property, or capitale, which means property. Application to slaves is from 1640s and later became a rhetorical figure in the writing of abolitionists. So we see ultimately we were cattle. Our ancestors were treated as cattle. Still interchangeable with the word capital. Chattel is applicable to slaves. And the key leaders of chattel slavery, there wouldn't be any slave trade if it weren't for capitalism. The European slave trade, right, became very profitable by the 1600s. So much so that in 1713, Roman Catholic Church became a commercial go-between to stop European nations from fighting each other for the access of African coast. Going back to my point of the divide for who? Africa. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. And to boost the Vatican's wealth to obscene levels, including lots of prime the Americas for a great generous fee. The Vatican created a contract, in other words, the asiento, that resolved territorial and or business disputes between two nations, and thereby became basically that was like the authoritative. They were the authoritative figure within there. When you study about the asiento, how they divvied us up. Now I could get into Judaism as well, showing you how they had us as slaves, on most of the slave ports. On most of us was what was a major player in the transatlantic world war. Capitalism, the banking system, off of the backs of our people. So the transatlantic world war, still dealing with capitalism, right? Slavery in the what? Catholic Church. But yet we're trying to include them on this side of the prophecy. Papal grants to the King of Portugal, giving authority to enslave Saracens and other non-Christian Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at war. You guys know this. I quote this from time to time. 1452 to 1514. In 1442, a Portuguese captain brought to the Gold Coast some Moorish prisoners of war, exchanging for 10 Negro slaves, and brought these back to Lisbon. A trading settlement was established at Lagos by 1444. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property rights over their newly discovered West African territories. And so Pope Papa, Santa Claus, Nicholas, St. Nick V was approached and was apparently led to believe that the territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens and other enemies of Christendom. There is no explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of what? War. That applied the well-known contemporary rules of what? War. And yet we still downplaying and saying that it was a slave trade. You see how they got us so conditioned, family? They got us so conditioned. We still going to try to convince ourselves not to start with our people when we start dealing with these prophecies. See, we've been conditioned to include everyone else, especially when we start dealing with everyone else. We just deal with Russia. We just deal with China. We just deal with the Pope, but we don't talk about the United States being part of that prophecy. I do, because they are part of that prophecy. See, many of you guys just want to have this approach.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
That's where many of you guys want to have that. Y'all want to have that approach to the prophecies. Y'all want to have everyone included in the prophecy on this good side, or should I say on our side? Because some of the stuff is not a good thing of what we had to go through, but the Most High has a plan. Doesn't feel good to know that you're raped and all that other stuff. How every country made an effort to divide us up. Come on, family. Many don't want to talk about this. This was why I keep bringing this up. And those that have been following me, even before I came on YouTube, I've been teaching this right here that's in front of you. That the transatlantic so-called slave trade was actually a war. The Catholic Church is the ones that signed the contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa, whereas the Portuguese were well aware that the local Negro inhabitants were not Saracens, they were not Muslims, and were not the enemies of Christendom. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V addressed, and this is dealing with King Alfonso V. I didn't put all of that information here. So weren't Saracens, we're not Muslims, and we're not enemies of Christendom. And when you do the history of like the Limba, when you do the history of the Igbos, when you do the history of many of the descendants of Israel that's in some of these tribes, you'll see that they were still upholding the ancient Israelites culture, right? This is why, right, this particular Messianic rabbi decided to ask this question to our own brothers and sisters. This is why he went here with this.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
but
all that he said,
I know. We don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain? I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go ahead. I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
Family, this is what happens when we don't draw the line and make a distinction with these prophecies. This is what happens when we don't draw the line and making a distinction between the blood descendants of Israel and those that have, should I say, embraced our culture, right? You have the blood descendants and you have the strangers or the sons of strangers. In the scriptures, there was always a distinction made by the bloodline Israelites and those that are sons of strangers. But now, see, we may laugh at them doing the duck dance, the ducktail dance, because we went from doing this together. We have arrived. We have arrived, so now we are doing the ducktail dance too.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
Come on, family. 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 But let's continue with this here. Let's continue with this here. All right. So the local Negro inhabitants were not Saracens. They were not Muslims. Right. So the Saracens were the Saracens. For those that don't know what Saracens is, Saracens in the Middle Ages, any person, in other words, Arab or Turk, or others who profess the religion of Islam. So the people that they declared war on, they knew for the most part they were not practicing Islam, the religion. They were not Arabs, they were not Turks. So what were they practicing? To not be considered enemies of the Catholic Church. I know they still declared war on our people. The Saracens are Arabs and Turks. Then when we go to this source here, African laborers for a new empire, Iberia slavery in the Atlantic world. You guys remember this? This is pretty much confirming what we already read. Right? Acquired in Portuguese mariners began to return to Iberia with captives acquired in West Africa and West Central Africa. Notably, the treatment of Black Gentiles, oh my gosh, was addressed in 1452 and 1455 when Pope Nicholas V issued a series of papal bulls granted Portugal the right to enslave sub-Saharan Africans. Come on, the battle for where? Africa. Where's that capital? Church leaders argued that slavery served as a natural deterrent in Christianizing influence to barbarous behavior among pagans. All right. So Pope Nicholas issued a mandate to the Portuguese king, Alfonso V, and instructed him to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever, and to reduce their purses to perpetual slavery, and to apply and appropriate to himself the successors, the kingdoms, dukedoms, countries, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, to convert them to his and their use and profit. So where are the black horses? Something to ask, right? Next, we're going to tie this all together, maybe not tonight. Who or what group is the white horse? Who or what group is the white horse? Who or what is the white horse? Bear with me 1 second, family. Let me check on something real quick. I thought I heard something. Let me take a break here. Let me hit pause here and I'll come back here. Let me make sure everything is okay. Let me take a break here real quick, family. All right, let's see here. All right, sorry about that, family. Thought I heard a little thump, so had to go check the house to make sure the house is straight. You guys know how that goes. So I wanted to make sure the wifey was okay because she's knocked out, and everyone is knocked out here. So just wanted to make sure everyone is good. So, but anyway, you guys know how that goes. Even though I'm doing this live, I still have to pay attention to what's going on in the house. So I thought I heard someone fall. So I wanted to make sure everything was okay. So thought I heard a thump. All right. So, but everyone is fine. Thank you guys for your concerns and even going into prayer. So, family, that should be the first reaction. We should always go into prayer when we suspect that something may be going on. So I just wanted to make sure family was good, but they are, and they are. All right. So let's go ahead and get back into it. All right. So again, let's go back to Revelation chapter 6. Right. And again, this is what we're going to deal with, the white horse. We'll deal with the white horses, plural. All right. Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. Right. It says, and I saw when the lamp opened, Pathak, one of the seals, Katham, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, come and see. And I saw and behold a white horse, Laban, in Zechariah plural. And he sat on him it said, and he that sat on him had a bow, Quashath, and a crown, Itar Roth, was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. The Hebrew definition of the word white, Laban, it means, well, it really doesn't give you much. It just say white. Right? As you see here at the back here, well, it doesn't give you much to go off. We know that this was also the name of Rebecca and Leah's father, Jacob's father-in-law, but really doesn't give us much to go off of. All right. So what's the attribute of the white horse? Let's go to Zechariah chapter 6, verse 6, and we'll get an idea here. Right. Dealing with the white horse. So it says the black horse, which are therein, go forth into the north country. The white horse, or the white horses, go forth after them. And the gristle go forth towards the south country. Family, is so much to unpack in this prophecy. This is why I say we have to go deeper with understanding the scriptures. We can't keep referring to just a West and East. We better start paying attention to the North and to the South. It's two ways you can take this: the Northern Kingdom, the Southern Kingdom. Or you could take it from the perspective of another perspective I'm just going to share with you. But when I was teaching this prophecy, I was saying Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. But then I began to teach another angle of this prophecy about 9 years ago. And I'm going to share it with you. So the white horses has weapons, but he is not firing live ammunition. Wait a minute. So the white horse has weapons, but he's not firing live ammunition. Almost every conflict between nations in modern history has been produced by conflicts among three powers. But we have to actually add a fourth one here. I need to update my slide. Communism, democracy, Catholicism, and Judaism. Let me say that again. Almost every conflict between nations in modern history has been produced by conflicts among four powers. Matter of fact, let me update it right now so I can remember this in the future when I do this again in the future. So let's go ahead and do this right now, family. I know I'm giving you guys a lot of information. Go back over and watch this presentation, but let me go ahead and update this. We covered a lot here, family. We covered a lot, more than what I anticipated on doing. All right. And believe it or not, I thought I was going to break this up into two. We may be able to complete this here. All right, let's see here. Let me do this here. There we go. I can't remember the other slide I need to update. I should have highlighted it. All right. So you guys see the update. Almost every conflict between nations in modern history has been produced by conflicts among four powers: communism, democracy, Judaism, and Catholicism. Malachi Martin gives explosive information about the white horses. Martin, right? Malachi Martin was the foremost Roman Catholic writer in America and a former Jesuit priest. He taught at Vatican College in Rome for 6 years and was an intimate friend of Pope John the 23rd. He was an insider who understood these things very clearly. He said that there would be a world government formed before the 90s, and the only question was who would rule it. Then he made this statement, right? He made plenty of statements. Actually, I forgot to put the statement in there, but oh well. But let's do some quotes from his book on what he said inside his books, because many of his statements are inside this book. Families, if you really want to get an inside scoop of some of the craziness that we see today, get this book, The Keys of This Blood, right? The Keys of This Blood, Pope John Paul II versus Russia and the West for Control of the New World Order by Malachi Martin. Powerful book here. Powerful, explosive book here. A lot of information. But I want to highlight this here. Rumors always difficult to verify. Tied its installation to the beginning of Pope Paul VI's reign in 1963. Paul had alluded somberly to the smoke of Satan, which has entered the sanctuary, an oblique reference to an enthronement ceremony by Satanists in the Vatican. Besides the incident of satanic pedophilia, rites and practices was already documented among certain bishops and priests as widely dispersed in Turin in Italy and South Carolina in the United States. The cultic acts of satanic pedophilia are considered by professionals to be the culmination of the fallen angels' rites. And we'll also see in Judaism and the Talmud promotes pedophilia. So the cultic acts of satanic pedophilia are considered by professionals to be the culmination of the fallen angels' rights. The fallen angels' rights. I know some of you guys like, what in the world did Pastor say right here? I know some of you guys are probably going minion on me by doing this right here. Y'all probably like doing Jay High style.
What?
The cultic acts of satanic pedophilia are considered by professionals to be the culmination of the fallen angels' rights.
What?
The fallen angels' rights. So if there be three geopolitical powers, actually I modified that and I could say four geopolitical powers. If the red horse is communism, the black horse is capitalism, then what would be the white horse, which is the daughter of Judaism, right? It is traditional for the Pope to dress in white. He has his own helicopter. He has his own bulletproof vehicle called the Pope Mobile. You know, let me say this again. So in that way, we can make sure we put it in its proper perspective. Let me say this again so you guys can really grab hold of what I'm saying, right? It is traditional for the Pope to dress in white. His helicopter is white. His bulletproof vehicle called the Pope Mobile is white. His airplane is white. If he had a horse, what color would it be? He rode a white horse, but that he had a bow with no arrows, and a crown was given unto him. All right? A crown was given unto him. A crown was given unto him. So much we can unpack here, and I'm going to unpack it here, family. I am going to unpack it. Let's continue here, right? Let's continue. I know I'm covering a lot, but let's continue. All right? Let's continue. All right. So originally, popes did not wear crowns. In approximately 960 AD, Pope Gregory became the first pope to ever have a crown. All right. The first pope to ever have a crown, 960 AD. The crown of the pope today is the infamous triple crown tiara. On the crown is inscribed Vicarius Filii Dei, or Dei, how we pronounce it, I'm butchering it here, which is Latin for vicar, in other words, representative or substitute of the Son of God. The Pope supposedly is the substitute Messiah and called Father. Let me say that again. The Pope supposedly is the substitute Messiah and called Father. The Messiah warns about the usage of Father in this manner, right? In Matthew chapter 23, verse 9, and call no man Father upon the earth. For one is your Father, which is in heaven. And again, call no man Father. The Greek definition of Father, as we see here, pater, which means father, it means parent. But it also, the key to this here, one who has infused his own spirit into others, who actuates and governs their minds. Let me say that again. I hope you guys grab hold of this, family. I hope you guys are taking your notes. I hope you guys are taking your notes here. When you say Pope, and many of us have embraced the spirit of Papa, Pater, how we treat pastors, because again, I dealt with capitalism. I'm showing that the Catholic Church pushes capitalism. Judaism pushes capitalism. That means that, guess what? On this Christian side, and though they want to say that they don't, that they separated from the Catholic Church, they are promoting capitalism. Why do we see the Joel Osteens? If he read his scriptures, guess what? The Joel Osteens wouldn't exist. The Levitical priests, they didn't have territory. They had to depend on the people taking care of them. 10% of their earnings. They didn't have territory going into the promised land. They were scattered throughout the promised land. They wouldn't have been living the way that these guys are living today, according to scripture. You see capitalism in full effect inside the church. The church has all kinds of property, but what about the people? Joel Osteen, living in a 10,000 plus square foot mansion, all kinds of millions of dollars of supercars. Got people that are living in apartments in his ministry. TD Jakes, same thing. Creflo Dollar, the same thing. We go right down the list of all these guys that are hustling the people. But even those that are not even on that level, doing the same thing. The Most High didn't intend for the priest to be behaving in capitalism. You can read in the scriptures how Christ had to call out the priests for that that spirit of capitalism when they would not give a man who had actually donated his property to the temple, but his father had died, or his father was either dead or he needed to use that to take care of his father. Right? I don't think he died, but he needed to take care of his father. And they would not release his property for him to take care of his father, to honor his father. That's capitalism, family. Come on, family. Capitalism, that spirit of capitalism, the spirit of this white horse is running rampant. People selling out their own people for the sake of that almighty dollar. Ultimately, look at it all, what our brothers and sisters are doing to be up under that influence of Papa with this whole demonic contradictory teaching of this orphan thing. That's why this whole sonship thing. How many of you guys heard that term, sonship? You see churches teaching this right now, sonship. They teach that quite naturally we have an orphan spirit. So sonship, we need to be under someone's rulership, under someone's authority, and they'll be a father to us. That's why this word pater, the entry number 2, is so important. One who has infused his own spirit into others, who actuates and governs their mind. This is what the Messiah was referring to when he said, call no man father. In other words, he's not contradicting the scripture from a perspective of honoring our fathers, our biological father, but here he's referring to putting them in this type of place that they have more authority than the Most High himself. Come on, family. That's the proper context of this here. All right. Is this a contradiction? I already answered that question. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. It says here, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee. Honor thy father, Abba. Honor thy mother, Amma. So call no man on earth father, but honor your father. Again, the example of the Pope is giving the proper clarity of what they meant here. Does the name Pope means father? Well, let's show you here. Let me show you here. Let's go to the etymology dictionary definition of papacy. You already can answer the question, but notice what it says here. Right? Papal office, late, from late Latin, papa. Y'all know what papa is. Papa. The etymology dictionary definition of Pope. Bishop, Pope, patriarch, bishop, father. Applied to bishops of Asia Minor and taken as a title by the bishop of Alexandria in 250, right? And Western church applied especially to the bishop of Rome. See, that's why I don't get caught up in all these titles like this. Because if you really understand the true word bishop, it was interchangeable with elder. It wasn't what we think of today of a hierarchical position. It was an elder within the community. was interchangeable with the word bishop. They were of a certain age. They had to have good rapport. They had to have a good reputation, married to only one wife. They were an elder. So bishop and elder are synonymous. The hierarchy we see today was not there in the scriptures. There was no hierarchy like we see today. So again, bishop and elder was the same. And it wasn't in the position that we see today of having this hierarchical structure that we see today. All right. So the etymology of vicar, it says this: deputy, second in command, a substitute, deputy, proxy. Whoa, wow. Change, interchange, succession, a place, position. So the Pope is called Father, and he's called the substitute. So he's the Father and the Son, according to the Catholic Church. In 1302, Pope Boniface VIII issued a papal bull stating that the Pope has authority over two realms, right? It says here, the most famous papal document of the Middle Ages affirming the authority of the Pope as the heir of Peter and vicar of Christ over all human authority, spiritual and temporal. Spiritual power, according to the bull, rests in the hands of the church. Temporal power is in the hands of kings, soldiers, but is to be exercised only as the church permits, because things spiritual are superior to things temporal. If temporal power errs, it is to be judged by the spiritual power. If lesser spiritual power errs, it is to be judged by the higher spiritual power, all the way up to the supreme spiritual power, the papacy itself. Papacy, papa, father, which can only be judged by God. We declare, state, and define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subjected to the Roman pontiff, the Pope, which went on in 1303 to confirm the disputed choice of Albert Habsburg as Holy Roman Emperor. Wait a minute. So the Pope has that much power, right? Yes. And announced that the emperor was overlord of all other rulers, including the King of France, under the ultimate supremacy of the Pope. So where are the white horses? Where are the white horses? Oh man, I know I'm giving you guys a lot. Still the battle for what? Africa. That's how Catholicism is to the height that it is right now. Anyway, the white horses. Let's deal with the pale horse. When he had opened the four seals, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, chloros, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death. Notice what you see, Thanatos. Sounds like Thanos, right? Thanatos, death. And it says, and hell, right? Sha'awal is the ancient Hebrew for hell. Hades in Greek followed him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword. I'm butchering it tonight. To kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So let's look at the Greek definition of pale. This is going to be interesting to you guys. It says this, right? Chloros, greenish, verdant, dun color. Okay. All right, Pastor. You got to go deeper on this. Let's go to the Hebrew definition of the word pale. It says, right? Yarak or Yerek in the Israeli pronunciation of it. Yerek. It says, the yellowish green of young and sickly vegetation. Wait a minute. So this pale horse has something to do with sick vegetation? That's pretty deep, right, family? Sick vegetation. Sick vegetation. Sick vegetation. Sick vegetation. Sick vegetation. Interesting, right? We're almost done here, family. Sick vegetation. Let me just do something real quick, correcting the slide. I saw something here. Sick vegetation. Sick vegetation, something to think about. What is the attribute of the pale horse? And are the grizzled and bay horse equal to the pale horse of John's vision? The grizzled and bay horses of Zechariah 6 match perfectly with the pale horse. It is easy to understand the pale horse because it means exactly what it says. Death sat on him, and behind him followed hell. The Greek dictionary definition of hell says this. It says Hades, that's the Greek, or the place, in other words, state of departed souls, grave. But it also says the God of the lower regions. And when we go to the Hebrew dictionary definition of Hades, Sha'awal, it says Hades, or the world of the dead, grave, hell, pit. All right. But it goes on to say here, right? It says here Sha'al in entry number 1, underworld, grave. Entries A and B, the sub entries, we see abode of the dead. All right. So, but the key I want you to hone in on is that pale in the Hebrew, right? As we highlighted, pale in the Hebrew, it means sickly vegetation. Sickly vegetation. So the tools given to death were sword, was a sword, or plural swords, hunger, death, and the beast of the earth. Is that why we always see these commercials, especially if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, of CARE, hustling so many people to donate money to where? The different famines in Africa, in which they were not doing right by that money. The tools given to death were sword, hunger, death, right? And the beasts of the earth. So where are the horses? Zechariah chapter 6, verse 6 and 7 gives some deep information on here. It says the black horses, which are therein, go forth into the northern country. The white horses go forth after them. So you have, as we highlighted, the black horse, right? Capitalism. The white horse is right up on them, right behind them. When we look at capitalism all through Africa, dealing with our ancestors, remember how we broke down capitalism? Remember that white horse? Horses, anyone that's connected to the Roman Catholic Church. Now we can tie that into the Asiento, all the countries, all the kingdoms, the Confederacy that enslaved our people, go forth after them, and the gristle go forth towards the south. And the bay went forth and sought to go that they might walk to and fro the earth. And he said, get you hence, walk to and fro through the earth. So they walk to and fro the earth. So all the capitalist countries are in the northern hemisphere. 80% of the world's wealth is found there too. In fact, in the vernacular of the United Nations, they speak about a north-south conflict. The northern nations are the haves. The southern nations are the have-nots. Let me say that again. I'm hoping I'm helping some of you guys out here. The northern nations are the haves, and the southern nations are the have-nots. Right? What nations are in the south? Interesting. They are primarily the poverty-stricken nations in South America and many of the poverty-stricken nations in Africa. Capitalism, Catholicism, right? Capitalism goes into the North country. Catholicism go forth after it. This is true in all Northern Europe, including Great Britain, France, Germany, and etc. Most prophecy books have said that the white horse, the conqueror, is the antichrist. The red horse, the war horse, the black horse is famine, and the pale horse is death. However, if the black horse was famine and the pale horse kills with hunger, in other words, famine, they would have to be the same thing, right? But let me just add one more slide in here real quick. And we done made it all the way to the end. I'm gonna drop the link real quick because you guys been up late night. All right. And as a bonus, let me add this here. Let me add this slide here. Y'all think this is a joke? Man, shoot. You want to hear something here? I'm going to read something to you real quick. That's going to mess with some of you guys here. All right. Oh, that's not what I want. Let me see here. I had it here. Let me look it up real quick. Bear with me 1 second. If I can't get it, then I'll just do it in a part 2. I hope this helped you guys. All right. Oh man, let me do this here. Oh, where is it? Bear with me 1 second, family. I was going to add one more slide here. All right, let's see here. Bear with me 1 second. I'm almost there. Because I want to read something to you, family. It is real Israel. We need to understand this, family. Let me see. All right, I think this is it. Where's this located at, Prince? All right, let's see. Where's this located at? Oh, I got it. I know where it's at. All right, let me do this real quick. All right. I know exactly where it is. Almost finished, family. I got one more thing I want to share with you guys. All right, this is under the scriptures folder. All right, let's try this now. Print. All right, let me show you something real quick. Excuse me, clear my throat. Throat is dry. All right, let me show you one more thing here. Y'all think this is a joke, man. I ain't gonna say y'all, but some people think this is a joke. You know, we want to generalize these prophecies, which we shouldn't. We should not be generalizing these prophecies. We got to be more specific with these prophecies. As long as we keep generalizing it, we're falling right into perpetuating a delusion. All right, let's see here. All right. Let me add this one more thing here. Oh, let me do this right. All right, let's try this again. And then we'll wrap it up, family. I'll drop the link. And if anyone want to come on real quick, stay on topic, family, because I don't want to deal with other stuff. You know, that's been the hardest thing, is trying to stay on topic. I don't want to deal with anything outside of what we discussed tonight. All right, here we go. Let me put this in here. All right. Let me show you one more thing here, family. Let me show you one more thing. Let me close this out. Let me bring this up on the screen. Let me show you one more thing. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to show. Why is that coming out like that? Oh man, why did I do that? That's weird. All right, here we go. Notice what you see here. Prince William's latest speech is receiving a lot of backlash. Well, what was his speech? This is what he said in his speech. This is back in 2017. In my lifetime, we have seen global wildlife populations decline by over half. Africa's rapidly growing human population is predicted to more than double by 2050, a staggering increase of 3.5 million people per month. There is no question that this increase puts wildlife and habitat under enormous pressure. The prince said urbanization, infrastructure, development, cultivation, all good things in themselves, but but they will have a terrible impact unless we begin to plan and take measures now. On human populations alone, overgrazing and poor water supplies could have a catastrophic effect unless we start to think about how to mitigate these challenges. Did y'all just catch what I just read? Did you guys catch what I just read? This is Prince Williams. He sounds just like Thanos, right? Remember Thanos in the movie, right? Infinity War, the Marvel series. Thanos' concern was food, that there was too many people, there was too many creatures living. So his plan was to reduce the creatures living in the universe, reduce them to half, so that way the universe will survive. I know that sounds like some conspiracy stuff, but there's a lot of truth you can hear inside these movies in terms of the agenda. That's why I want to do this lesson here, family. We better start paying attention. So as I pointed out, the haves and the have-nots, everywhere where you see our people for the most part, especially when we deal with the Americas, where there's a north, we always at the south side. The south side of every city, for the most part, you see us dwelling there. And south side is not the most, or should I say, the safest place to be at certain times. Muhammad Ali Boulevard in South Side is not the most peaceful place. Malcolm X Boulevard is not the safest place in many cases. Think about it when you go to many countries where we are scattered at. The southern portion of that city, normally you'll see where our people are regulated to. All right. But we're going to stop right here, family. I know I gave you a lot to go off of. Go back over the lesson. If you haven't by now, hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Let me do something real quick. I know I did not put the Cash App here. So for those that want to contribute to the work here, I'm going to post the Cash App, and feel free, whatever the Most High, if you want to contribute, feel free to do so. You're not pressured to do so, but I want to put this up here. All right, so let me do this here. All right, so if you guys want to contribute to the works here, feel free to do so. Also, let me see if I have anyone in the back. I don't think I saw anyone in the back yet. All right, I'll post it one more time. I'll give it another couple of minutes. If not, we will call it a wrap. I know I gave you so much information. And family, this is why I want to say, again, we need to really pay attention to the prophecies, to my brothers and sisters that are over in Africa. Just be careful. Discernment is important. But guess what? It's the same discernment we need to have over here in the country, in the U.S., in this country. Because there is a battle of Gog and Magog and some of the other countries that's going to happen. There is a battle that is going to happen. That's why when I see things like Russia, China, and those guys trying to establish their own currency to circumvent when they are being what is called sanctions are held against them, and they start doing this brick thing because they don't want to. They want to use that as an opportunity to circumvent the sanctions. And who are they bringing aboard on that? Right? They're using. I mean, many of our people are jumping on it, but that's their way of trying to get around sanctions. But again, still two birds. Communism, democracy, and all that stuff is still the same on the same bird. So let me go ahead and I got to see a couple of people in the back. Let me go ahead and bring them in. Really appreciate these sisters here that are coming online here. I want to say peace and blessings to Malaka, and also excuse me if I mispronounce your name, Kisha.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I said it correct. All right. Have me do the ducktail dance. Let me pull that. I'm going to do this for myself.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
You says. So we're going to start with Malaka. Malaka, because you were the first one that came in. So we're going to start with you. Any comments that you want to share here?
Well, first, let me just say peace and blessings, shalom, family. So when I saw that you extended an invitation, I'm just like, Pastor, you brought it home. You dropped the mic. Sometimes there's really not much more to add when someone who comes to deposit into us. Now, there may be some that have some more to add, Yahuwah may, incline them to speak, but sometimes we just need to take it in and let it stew. Ingest it, digest it. You know what I mean? So that if it's good food, now we can take it in and regurgitate it and tell it to our family and friends, share it on our platforms and things of that nature. So Pastor Kelly, I just want to say to you, kudos to you, first of all, for opening up your platform so that people can come in and speak. And I just pray that everyone is respectful and we're all of one Ruach, one Ahad in the Ruach. And I have nothing else to add. I just want to say thank you once again.
You hit it on the nail, sis, and really appreciate you. Appreciate the comments that you shared. Thank you for the love and support. And anyone you want to throw in the garbage can, I know I gave a lot of information, but anyone or any groups that you want to put inside the garbage can.
Pastor, you know what? At first, I was going to say, I want to throw in the garbage can everyone who is dumb, deaf, and blind, still not hearing us as we're sounding the trumpets. But you know what I said? I said, you know what? Hold back. The Ruach told me, hold back, Malaka. Faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word. So just be patient, because at this time in the game, I'm ready to throw anybody in the garbage that ain't on this type of time, but we got to be patient.
Absolutely. So I guess no garbage can tonight?
No garbage can tonight. It's a mercy and compassion, Pastor.
Okay, no 3-piece? No orders to go?
3-piece. Don't get me started now. If I start to thinking.
Well, I'm going to put, for me, I'm going to continue to put these different countries that have hoodwinked our people, like what I dealt with the Berlin Conference and all those different things, that craftiness that are there, the Catholicism, Judaism, all those different institutions that was created to use us as product, as a commodity, that's how they built their capital off of us. So I'm going to throw all of them in the garbage can. All right, let me put them in the garbage can. All right, look like Malaka dropped off, but Kisha, you have the floor.
Well, I just want to say Thank you so much, Shalom, Brother Kelly, Shalom family. This message was so timely. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised that you came with a message like this tonight. Just this evening, I was watching a YouTube. This gentleman in Africa had on Sudan, and he's saying there's a literally an all-out proxy war physically happening there right now over gold and over Russia starting to build a military base that was supposed to be a secret, but the US found out, and now they've sent fighter jets and ammunition, and the two sides in Sudan that are fighting, one's fighting on behalf of Russia, one's fighting on behalf of the US, and they are literally fighting because companies, Chinese companies, Russian companies, American companies have stakes in those gold mines, and Sudan is like the third biggest producer of gold in the world, and they are literally fighting because these companies want to have the rights to those gold mines, and billions, hundreds of billions, not just billions, hundreds of billions of US dollars worth of gold go missing every year between all the, and they're believing the accusation is these companies are taking it. And so these nations are fighting over currency in Africa, literally. And
And
so
you know
this
what's sad?
message hits home.
And you know what's sad about the Sudan? Because even when you look at the currency, right, compared to like the dollar, it's like 1,000 to 1,
Right.
or is it 10,000 to 1? I mean, they really
I don't
purposely,
know.
to
It's
me, I believe that
ridiculous.
they purposely suppress their economy, and of course, when you have a suppressed economy and so much corruption within there. And so when
Right.
you understand the playbook, that's what U.S. and other major powers do to a number of what they consider third world countries. Like when you study
Mhm.
Nicaragua, that's what Russia and U.S. were doing.
Right.
They were trying to push different groups and hoping that whatever group that they're supplying weapons to, they will become the voice and run that
Right.
territory. And
And
now
they
they
can
get the
puppet through
influence.
them. Right.
Exactly. So you have Sudan, like you pointed out. I mean, they have billions of metric tons. They should be a very wealthy community.
Right.
There's other communities. I can't remember that one country where they had a whole mountain of gold that was discovered.
I'm not sure if it's Mali, because Mali has a lot of gold, but I don't know.
This one particular one, it was like about 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, people were it was mountain.
Right.
To the point that the locals said that they're going to cut it off, not just from the local people, from the local people, like they were, about to build up their different groups. And of course, the same thing happens all over again.
Right.
Allow other countries to infiltrate them. And before you know it, instead, like you pointed out, of being one of the wealthiest countries, they're going to still be going back to that example that I give, the dirty dime versus the shiny nickel.
Right, because their dirty dime of gold, they have to trade in US currency. You're never going to win that way. And in order to trade, you have to deposit your money outside of Africa, in Europe, and then borrow your money when you need it and pay interest on your money that you put in that bank that you are now borrowing your money back. How do you ever win?
And
That's literally what the deal is.
And that's what these countries are doing to many countries over in Africa. I got my buddy Brandon Blackwell that's in the chat, and I one day I'm gonna have to get him on here because he's very astute when it comes to finances. He's been doing this for years, doing very good in that. So if you see brother Brandon Blackwell, feel free to shoot him a message. He is really, really thorough when it comes to stocks and things along that line. But anyone you want to throw in the garbage can, sis? Any final words you want to
Yes.
give the people?
Yes, I definitely want to throw these major world powers that are just decimating Africa financially and every other kind of resources, just so we can never ever get a foot up, so they can always pull the wealth out of us and leave us with nothing. And I want to throw in the garbage can all of those Turks that call themselves Egyptians, that refuse to admit that ancient Egyptians are Africans and Egyptians are Africans, are Nubians. Those people can go in the trash too.
I got another video I'm about to upload tomorrow about that as well. You know, I got to keep going in on that. So we're going to throw them all up in the garbage can. I agree with you.
Yes.
Give them a 3-piece. They're ordered to go.
No matter how many times I see that, they make me laugh every time. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you, sis, and shalom to you. Thank you for the love and support.
Shalom.
Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Pirate Brain.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom to you, my brother.
This was a very interesting live that you did. I haven't been able to catch you live. I've been catching you on the replay for a while. I don't know why I haven't been getting notifications.
You know why. You know why.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm signed up to both of your pages. The We Woke Now and the We Woke Now Extended. But they always come late. But today I got it on time. I like to throw. Well, let me just start off with what I was thinking. I don't understand why these African leaders make any kind of deal, no matter how bad you need something. Why are you making deals with anybody? Because you know that you're not. If you get something, you're gonna pay a price that's not worth it. Like the deals that Africa made with China. It's it just wasn't worth it. And how are you gonna throw your people under the bus like that? What riches, what silver coins are worth you throwing your people? Like for example, Uganda, to lose your port to China. Come on, it's a craziness that they're psychopaths, and I don't understand why they keep doing it after they know the history by now. You can't. It's like I hear some of the African people say, "Well, we didn't know what was going on when they talk." Because my thought was, if you cared about us, why didn't you go back over there and try to get us, try to rescue us? What happened to the no man left behind type deal? So they didn't care that we was gone in the first place, and now they throw in there, and I don't take it personal because they doing it to their own people, and it's disturbing because I was actually planning on retiring in the African country, but you never know where something's gonna break out. Because you got a lot of brothers that's going to the Philippines and they planning on living their life there. And now all the bases in the Philippines are starting to rev up. So there's nowhere to really run to.
And to that point,
Hmm?
Yeah, just to your point, and that's why when it's all said and done, and that's one of the things, I'm not knocking anyone for traveling to different countries, hoping to find safety and start new or whatever the case may be. But the Most High, where He's going to bring judgment to the four corners of this earth, and everywhere where our people are scattered to, we still got to go through as a whole the things that we see happening right now. It's unfortunate, but we still got to go through it.
Yeah, and you know, it's written that there's not going to be nowhere to run and hide. It's going to be, it's nothing to do. Not that I at this point I'm 60, so I'm just tired of fighting here in the United States, having to worry about if I just want to run up to the store to buy something, something's going to jump off.
Yeah.
It's just getting to be tremendous. But I would like to throw in the trash can, like this young lady that was just on, all of the Western countries that's got their hands in Africa's pockets. All of them.
Absolutely. Let's throw them in the garbage can. And thank you, my brother, for jumping on. Let me give the garbage can real quick. Thank you, my brother. Really appreciate you jumping on, and I appreciate the love and support. And yeah, unfortunately, with the notifications, this is what YouTube is doing. Unfortunately,
you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you, my brother. And hey, anytime, whenever I drop the link, you're more than welcome to jump on.
All right, take care of yourself.
All right, likewise.
Okay, ciao.
All right, Bloodline Elite, excuse me. Have you here next? Any comments you want to share tonight? I'll let you be the last one before we wrap up.
Good day, brother. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Thank you.
I'm awesome. Yeah, I just want to touch down on what the previous brother just was talking about. These African leaders, most of them were groomed way in advance to be presidents. That's why today they make it easier for them to make deals and take contracts with their oppressors. And it gives an impression that they don't care about their people, which in fact I think they don't. Most of them were groomed, and some of them were groomed along with they even went to the extent of creating political parties disguised as liberation movements, and then they put a blackface, for a lack of a better word. I don't know if you can get me.
Oh no, I totally understand. To use like you pointed out, the blackface as the face of it to continue to kind of push their agenda, to kind of give this impression to us that they're for us when actually they're pushing the very people that have helped contribute, or the main contributors to the disposition of where we are today.
Yes,
and the struggles we have to deal with.
Exactly. Because back in the day when the enemy was still in his original form, when he was still white, it was like easier for us to hit the streets in protest. But now that the oppressor looks like us, we find it difficult to like hit the streets in protest, because we don't believe that these people are actually oppressing us. Like it comes hard. I'm talking like in the context of South Africa.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so amazing. Like I was watching a video, even with dealing with South Africa, that they actually have white only towns.
Yes, there in the Cape Town.
Have you heard about that?
Yes, it's there in the Cape Town. Cape Town is like when the settlers, the oppressors, when they first came to South Africa. Cape Town is there by the seaport. So that's the first place they make contact with Africa. That's the first place they took over. And then when we fought and fought until we finally gained some political independence. That's where the sellout leaders came in. They constituted that place within the constitution somehow. That's why we end up having a place where like that in a so-called democratic dispensation.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Well, I'm going to have to do a special live, my brother, get you up on here just to talk about this more. Because I definitely, that's why I wanted to do this lesson here to really trigger these discussions that we're having. And I definitely want to get you on here and just do more of a, give you more time and we could talk about these things that we're discussing. And maybe we could shoot for next Friday night or next Saturday night if that's more convenient for you, whether Friday or Saturday, and we could do it at the same time or do it a little earlier. And I want to get you on here just to so we could really talk about these things because most people don't know about this stuff. We don't we're oblivious to even just what some of the things that you just mentioned tonight and just what we just talked about, even uh, the white only towns, as you pointed out in Cape Town. I mean, I was oblivious to that until I was just, doing some research and, of course, working on a couple of videos. And then when I came across that, I was like, what? It's like, wow.
Yes, I wouldn't mind that.
So,
I,
who you want to put in the garbage can here tonight before we wrap up?
I think I will put in the sellouts. Everyone who's selling us out deserves the garbage bin.
Hey, I agree with you. Let me hit that garbage can right
Because
now. Let me hit that garbage can right now.
because you know that's how
Right.
we ended up like with these constitutions. These constitutions, they are the ones selling us out because even today here in South Africa, when we ask them when are we getting the minutes for the meeting where this constitution was being produced, till today they murmur about that. And whenever our enemy, whenever he keeps talking about something over and over, especially in praise, you must know it's for his own benefit.
Yeah. Wow. All right, my brother. Let's shoot for next Friday. I'm gonna make sure I go live a little earlier. I ran a little late here tonight because I had company, and you know how that goes. But let's shoot for next Friday, and let's continue this dialogue here because the people need to hear what we're discussing right now. And if there's any additional things that you feel that we are unaware of, bring it to the surface, bring it to the floor, so we can really allow the people to know what's out there.
All right, I'll make sure I do that.
All right. Well, hey,
I'll make sure.
love you, my brother, and
I'll,
thank you for the support.
I think I'll keep in touch with you via email so that we
Oh,
can make sure of the time because
that'll work.
our time zones there's a 7 hour difference, so
Okay.
we'll have to make sure we agree on a convenient time for both of us.
Okay. We'll do. We'll do. Well, thank you, my
All
brother.
right.
Love you, and have a blessed
Uh,
remainder of the night until we communicate offline. Shoot me the email, and we'll make sure that we have our times in sync, and then we'll move forward and
all
have
right,
this
brother.
discussion. All
All
right.
right, brother. Thank you. I love you too. And shout out to Diaspora. Can't wait to
Absolutely.
reunite with.
Absolutely. Thank you, my brother.
All right, doc. How do I leave here?
All right, family. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I'm about to take it down. I can barely keep my eyes open, but really appreciate the love and support. Go back over the video and take your notes, and we'll do another session on this next week, next Saturday night. We'll do it a little earlier, And we're going to still deal with the battle for Africa. There's still more scriptures I have to unpack. We're going to go there. We're going to make sure that we understand that everything that we see is prophesied. All right. And I'm going to give you scriptures about what I mentioned about Egypt. I may even include that in a clip I may drop tomorrow, just to continue the narrative, the conversation on the whole thing, the so-called controversy with Netflix, with the movie Cleopatra, produced by Jada Pinkett Smith, with them having a problem with a dark melanated woman, or a melanated woman, because she's not dark like us, but she's a melanated woman. And they have a problem with her playing Cleopatra, in spite of knowing the history, that we know the history. Got some additional things I'm going to drop tomorrow. But with that being said, family, in the words of Moses that was given to him by the Most High, children of Israel, when they was in Egypt, came out of Egypt, they came to their first major challenge, right? They began to complain in Exodus chapter 13, verse 14. Excuse me. In 13 and 14, verse 13 to 14, the Most High had to give these words to Moses for Moses to give to the people. They were ready to go back into Egypt. And they were complaining about the Most High. The words are, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, these Egyptians, these strongholds that you see here today, this Confederate that we see here today, this battle for Africa, this battle for all our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, wherever we scattered to the according to the four corners of this earth. The Most High will fight for you, but we must hold our peace. Let me say that again. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today would never have power over you again. These crafty councils will never have power over you again. This hustle that they're trying to do on our people will never have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. And the Hebrew word there is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.